Well, good afternoon, good morning, folks, wherever you are. I'm Anthony. I'm the head of sales here at Surfside. Got an exciting webinar coming up for you today, web event. We're going to give it another minute or so just for a few other people to file in, and we'll get started here in about a minute or so. So just hang tight. Okay, there we go. A lot of people filing in. It's always in that 1 to 2 minute mark. People seem to be coming, I guess, from other meetings and calls. All right, we will get going. Thanks everyone for joining. Very excited to have you here. Very excited to be hosting this and have an amazing group of folks here on the panel. I'm going to briefly introduce each of these gentlemen. They're going to fill in some additional details about them and their business. We're going to start with Mike Botelho, who's the CEO of the Vault, who are a leading cannabis retail dispensary in Massachusetts. Two locations today. There's the Webster flagship location, and then there's the new store, Mike, that you've opened pretty recently in Worcester. Mike, thanks for joining. Love to have you here. What else do you want to share about the Vault and yourself?
I guess I want to say, like we said, we have the two stores, always looking for a third one. We've been in business for a few years. I am not what you would call an old school cannabis person. I came from a very, I guess, non-cannabis environment, more so the golf world than anything. But this is without a doubt the most interesting industry I've ever seen in my life, and very excited to be part of it.
Interesting, yes, definitely a good word.
Yeah.
There's many others, of course, but interesting is a good one. Thank you so much, Mike. And with Mike today is Steve Cranshaw. Steve is the co-founder at Blend Brand Group. I stutter on that one every time.
Everyone does.
Might be
It's
my
all
funny
good.
accent. But Blend Brand Group and Steve, specialists in marketing, advertising, data analytics, primarily for cannabis, the cannabis industry, retailers and brands. Steve works very closely with Mike on all things marketing. Steve, welcome. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Anthony. Yeah, you kind of touched upon a lot of it. I've been working with Mike. I think we're coming up on 3 years now, and kind of diving into the cannabis industry to figure out the best ways to get, marketing, advertising, and data. Three areas that we feel the industry is a little lacking right now because of regulations and whatnot. So we've been working with Mike for a while now to make some great strides, and also working with you guys has been great too. So yeah, it's kind of where we're at right now.
Awesome. Thanks, Stephen. Welcome. And finally, last but not least, Will Houghton, brand manager from Nimbus Cannabis Co. Nimbus is primarily a Massachusetts brand. Today, pre-rolls, vapes, flower, concentrates within your product portfolio. I know you folks are also, I was reading about, partnered with with the women-owned Hudson Growers Alliance, which is super cool. Will, welcome. Thank you for joining. Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Thank you for having us, Anthony. Yeah, so Nimbus is a small, very craft brand in Massachusetts. We're a manufacturer. Our brand house is Hudson Botanical Processing, which is what Anthony was talking about. Now that's kind of become one company with the woman-owned Hudson Growers Alliance. So it's a brand house that has a small craft grow, and then also an extraction facility upstairs. So we extract and we create and grow all our own flower. We wholesale two brands and dispensaries like the Vault. So we've been, we have a long-time relationship with these two gentlemen below. And yeah, it's awesome. I come from an advertising background and really an art background, I guess is the big thing. And it's knowing the owners of Nimbus since college and kind of coming at it, this is kind of cutting our teeth for everyone in the industry.
Mm-hmm.
And it's cool for us to see, as an advertiser, what are the challenges we're kind of dealing with. And I feel kind of lucky to be part of a business and in an industry that kind of challenges from the very beginning. So
Awesome.
we're working with Surfside to help get over some of those challenges.
Yes. Well, no doubt, interesting. Mike used challenging, definitely industry as well. I'm sure everybody who's dialing in and who will listen to this in the future will agree with a lot of those sentiments. And it's the boys today, apparently. So thanks for gathering, gentlemen. Appreciate you. We've got a few topics we're going to go through here. We're going to focus on a couple of specific questions to retail and brand as we go through this as well. So obviously we'll throw to the relevant folks at that time. But initially, pretty high level. We know it's a challenging industry. We've just talked about that. Love to think how you're all thinking broadly about the digital advertising, digital marketing aspect of things. How does that relate to acquiring new customers? That's what the holy grail. Everybody's always trying to get the new customers. Also got to retain existing ones because you've always got competitors coming after them, of course. So I want to get a sense of what's working, what's not working. Excuse me, I've got calls coming through here. And then, anything that might be ahead over the next sort of 12 months or so. So might throw maybe to Steve and Mike to start to discuss on the retail side, digital marketing, what's the focus, what's coming up, what's ahead?
Sure. Yeah, so I think the biggest part of what you said, Anthony, there was the customers, in a very concentrated market like we have in Massachusetts right now. The customers are looking for deals. That's what we feel is one of the bigger ways to stand out. So what we've been doing lately in our marketing efforts are working with partners like Will. We work with various other wholesalers as well, to really make sure our marketing efforts are planned and not so just kind of by the seat of our pants, like I'll admit we have been doing for a little while now. So what we do is we usually approach the wholesaler first to try and say, okay, what's a bundle that we think is going to work well, move off of our shelves, also while appealing to the customer. So the next step after we get that, kind of ironed out is figuring out how we're going to reach this to the customers. And again, as we've talked about, in a very, restricted market, we have to be careful with what we do. Mm-hmm. So first off is usually in store. You have your customers that are already there. Make sure the marketing efforts are really being seen in store first and foremost. Next, we have our VIP program, where I'm proud to say we have, I think, just over 7,000 VIPs on our list, that we get text, email campaigns that go out, weekly. And then the next thing is trying to figure out, as you said earlier, digital. How do we get out to people into the marketplace, where they are, where they're consuming information? And that's where we've partnered with you guys at Surfside to have programmatic ads to make sure it's reaching people when they're on websites, apps. And then to close the loop, once someone either clicks on those apps or navigates to our website, is the commerce media ads. So the ads that show up within the website. So with that kind of, let's call it 1, 2, 3, 4, 8, 9, 10 punch that we're kind of doing for this, we're just trying to make sure we're staying top of mind as best we can. So that's the approach that we've been doing for a little while now, and we're definitely seeing great results.
Awesome. Mike, anything you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Just to kind of follow up on what Steve has to say, if you look at this industry in today's world, right, everybody has a phone with them 24/7 virtually, right? So we want to make sure that we're making the best use of basically hitting that phone as frequent and as often as we can. And again, like the ads that we do through Surfside, it's amazing some of the response that we get, where I show that to some of my employees and like, wait a minute, that many customers come in based on ads that only a few people, theoretically, what they think a few people see. And that's something that is surprising to me, coming from the world that I do. Mm-hmm. But it's a different world, and like anything else, we got to adapt every time we turn around. So that's basically where we are today. And I think Steve summed it up, extremely well as far as what our attack is.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that we definitely, conversations we have every day with our customers, dispensaries and brands, is that marketing mix, right? There's no silver bullet. It's not one thing, one channel, one effort is going to solve everything. It's putting a plan together, right, and executing it and having these channels work cohesively together. From the brand side, Will, you're coming at this from the brand side, right? You don't have a brick and mortar store. You don't have a direct to consumer e-commerce channel. You're working with these fine gentlemen and others. How does digital factor into what you're doing? How has it worked in the past? Maybe things that haven't worked in the past. And then what do you see ahead for digital marketing and digital advertising for Nimbus?
Yeah, so digital has been, I mean, obviously, to kind of go on what these guys have been saying, everyone always has a phone on them. People are always on the computer. That's just kind of a digital world nowadays. And, as a brand, we certainly deal, as all cannabis brands do, we deal with like things such as Instagram and all these kind of shadow banning. There's difficulties there. But when it comes to actually digital advertising, you know, I think having it's all about brand exposure for us, brand exposure and product education. We certainly kind of position ourselves as a more premium brand. So the big thing is to get our products in front of people when they're making that purchase, and whether that's through a Surfside ad, you know, whether when they go up to a kiosk or when they're on their phone, they see that Surfside ad that has our full array of products that you'll see along one of these slides. Which shows people, you know, we're not only a vape brand, which is kind of what we came to the market as, but we're a full cannabis brand with everything from, you know, packaged flower to vapes. Additionally, you know, we have things such as like in-store displays, but which is again just about brand exposure. Like, what can we do to be with the customer at the point of sale that gets somebody to buy a Nimbus product? Because we know, being a premium product, it's more about how many times does somebody purchase a Nimbus product, as you know, along with or as opposed to another product, until they finally realize, you know, the quality, and that's about retaining the new customer. And in the next 12 months, I think, you know, a big thing of ours is, you know, we look for the ROI. We're all kind of we're limited budgets in this industry, that's for sure. This is a mom and pop business. So I think just we see the good things that Surfside does. So just, you know, allocating more resources to those ads, and then also coming up with new kind of streams of revenue for ourselves, whether that be, you know, a merchandise store, which we can also advertise through Surfside, or things like, you know, new product lines, new states. So it's all exciting things, but, you know, it's always a dynamic kind of, it's a dance to try to figure out what can work.
It is a dance. There's no blueprint necessarily either, right? You guys are sort of figuring this out as you go, which makes it fun. Let's touch quickly before we move on, and we could do a whole session on, I attended a whole session last week on this, on legislative change, descheduling, rescheduling. We won't get into the gory detail on that. I just would be interested if maybe I'll pose this to Mike to start. Like, if there was a major event and we saw a rescheduling, descheduling, and the taxation implications for you were different in the way that you spend money on things like advertising, do you think that would affect, you would start spending more money? I assume that would be the case.
Yeah, like anything else, you know, at the end of the day, the week, the month, whatever, you look at your balance sheet and your income statement, right? What do I have left? How can I use the resources to the best of my ability? Like anything else. If there's less taxes, theoretically you have more resources, right? So if you have those resources, then it becomes a little bit more of a decision game. Where do I want to put those resources that will pay benefits or dividends, you know, for the vault going forward? And it's one of those things where we don't know what's happening, you know. So we're cautiously optimistic. You know, obviously there's a few things that we're doing to make sure that we stay as competitive as we can. But it's one of those things where we don't know what tomorrow brings, but it's very interesting and exciting to think about it. So for sure.
Yeah, we definitely don't know. I mean, I got very excited a few weeks ago, and now I'm less excited because it seems to have died back down. But I know we're all keeping a close eye on it. So let's shift gears a little bit. We'll focus a little bit here on retail, and retail moving into sort of e-commerce specifically, which you all did touch on there. And so for Steve and Mike here on the retail side, thinking about your e-commerce setup specifically, your e-commerce customer, who is that pickup or delivery customer, talking a little bit about some of maybe the solutions that you're using, some of the tech stack that you're using to handle e-commerce right now. How are you driving people to purchase from you that way? How much of the mix is that today for you in your stores? Does it vary across the two? So just, you know, moving from the broader umbrella of digital marketing into really your e-commerce solutions, your e-commerce stack, and how you're optimizing and continuing to improve that at the Vault.
Yeah, so as far as, you know, our e-com and POS, we use Dutchy for that, right? Which, again, getting into this space, it's not the best solution, but they've made huge strides in getting us to where they are today. But when we look at it, like roughly, we get about 50% of our orders or our sales coming from through e-commerce, right? And it's kind of a different world where people walk in the store and sometimes they don't want to talk to anybody. They want to make the least amount of conversation as possible. And they walk in and they say, I got a Dutchie order. They go get right in line, pay for it, and within 2 minutes they're out the door. And again, I never would have guessed that 50%, but honestly, that's 50%. They don't want to talk to anybody. They want to look at our online menu and they want to get out. So again, from that perspective, a lot of those customers are very interested to see what we have for deals. They comb through our website. They look at some of the ads that are out there, and whatever it is, it has driven them to our store. And again, some of the people will place the online order from the parking lot. It's ready in 2 minutes. They know about it. They come in just because they don't want to deal with people. They know what they want. That's perfect.
Right.
The other piece of it is they come in and customers will come in and they don't know. Like probably 10-15% of our customer base is over the age of 60. Right? That absolutely amazes me. So when we see that kind of thing and we have people trained on the floor to answer their questions about whatever product it is, to me, that's hugely beneficial, right? The other thing that we do is we use Alpine IQ as a CRM platform. And like Steve mentioned earlier, I think are we up to about 7,000 now? But we've got ads or messages going out weekly about what we have for different specials, what we have for different products, whatever it is. We try to reach all of our customers any way it is, whether it's through our website, through Surfside, through programmatic ads, through commerce media, whatever it is. We try to reach them, to get them interested, to ask questions, to come in, look at our menu. We want to make sure that we're kind of fitting all of our customers to what it is that they need. And again, the big thing is stay top of mind. We want to make sure that we have the best deals, and we can't have the best deals on everything all the time. But recently with 420, we looked around and some of the local dispensaries, maybe they had one thing that was a little bit better than some of what we had to offer. So again, that's the way we kind of attract the business and keep it, is through the best ads in every form of media that we can reach them at. We're going to do that as much as we can.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm biased, but putting my Surfside hat off, and I know you mentioned a lot of channels there, getting that mix right, like the loyalty, 7,000, that's amazing, and that's only going to grow more and more. And you don't need to advertise to them anymore because you can message them directly, right? And that's really the goal: is cast the wide net, get as many people as you can, then bring them in closer to your business through loyalty, through other channels. So that's brilliant. Steve, anything to add to that there?
I think the only quick thing I'd add is, to Mike's point, we want to make sure our website is as strong as it can be, because, like we were saying, our breakdown tends to be 50% online orders, 50% walk-in, but that also doesn't account for the person who just looked at their phone, found that we have what they want, doesn't place an order, but then walks in. So it's probably can be skewed a little bit higher, even though it's not a direct online conversion. So again, just having a strong website with the proper marketing happening on it only strengthens the chance for a conversion.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, you guys have done a really, really good job, and you've definitely embraced technology, right? You've been not reliant, and I mean, those numbers show, right, how many people are getting ordering online, how many people don't just have the time, or just don't have the wherewithal, or don't want to engage with a human being, right? And that you've got a solution for them, but you've also got people on the other end of the scale that I'm sure come in and wander around and chat and want to look at this, that, and the other, and engage, right? And so you've got all your bases covered there, which is amazing.
Yep, exactly. You said it.
Awesome, thank you. We'll shift over. We'll shift over to the brand perspective, and I love having both sides on this conversation, because that's our industry for the most part. We've got the brands and we've got the retailers. Some people straddle both. So Will, on the brand side, from the Nimbus perspective, similar questions, really, right? You have as we talked about a moment ago, you have in some ways a bigger challenge because you don't have that location. People know the Vault, particularly the original store. More people are learning the new store. They can go in, they can be engaged with. You're a step away, right? So you have to think about things differently. So a couple of things I'm particularly interested in. Obviously, talking through e-commerce and digital, like please continue to share remarks there. I know that Mass is the big state for you. Maybe there's other states on the horizon. So, marketing Nimbus in Mass is going to be very, very different than what you would have to do going into a new market. So any thoughts around how you would, continue to double down, improve what you're doing today on the e-commerce front? And then maybe how you might think about things slightly differently if you were going into a new market where nobody knew you.
Totally. So this all kind of goes back to our like original business model and business idea, which was, how do we create a brand that really resonates within, knowing we're all kind of coming from Massachusetts. How do we create a brand that really resonates with the people of Massachusetts was number one. Because unlike dispensaries, we don't have proximity working in our favor, right? Because people, it doesn't matter if Nimbus is from Hudson, it ends up on the other side of the state anyways. So something we've done is created, flavor names and certain, we call our flower, like, going on the Massachusetts accent thing.
I know I attempted to do that at the start, but I don't think it worked.
Yeah, right. So really kind of creating the brand in a way that it resonates with the market, but in a way that's also transferable. And we kind of stick to that model with everything that we've done. So Surfside, we also kind of get on something like these guys mentioned, Alpine IQ, some of these other programs that are very, dynamic, and we can kind of utilize them wherever we go.
Mm-hmm.
So what we kind of really do to attract new customers is, make sure we're out there in the market in person, but at the same time, we kind of double down on that with our digital. So we're kind of hitting both avenues of, to get into consumers' head and make sure they think about Nimbus when they're at that point of sale. When it comes to, I guess getting new people in the door, I think a big thing is, email advertising, doing stuff on social media, but in addition, having our ads on those dispensary menus make a huge deal because, like, people might be a loyal Vault customer, but they're not necessarily a loyal Nimbus customer. So paying for those digital spots makes a huge difference to us and actually getting those new customers and exposing people to a brand that they haven't tried before. Because that's really, that's our bread and butter is what can we do to get people to try Nimbus for the first time? As I've said before, this is a premium product. So we're really pretty confident that if somebody were to buy a Nimbus, they're going to come back for a Nimbus. So it's really about what can we do to get in the consumer's mind when they're at that point of sale.
Absolutely.
Big thing.
Here's a bit of another, just a random question for all of you that just sprang to mind. Who do you know more about, do you think, your online customer or your in-store customer in terms of the data, the analytics, the things I know once they become part of CRM, it's probably a bit more table stakes, right? Because we have to enter in our email address and so on and so forth, and you can learn more. But do you think, for those customers that are in the process of becoming, loyal, they're looking for their dispensary or they're looking for their brands, particularly in the brand space, who do you know more about?
For us, we definitely know more about the online order people because, we don't have that brick and mortar. It's actually trackable for us.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes to the brick and mortar, it's like everyone needs to give people permission to give out that information. And there's not much, there hasn't been quite that agreement stage in the Massachusetts market yet where everyone can come to agreement on sharing certain information and everything.
Right.
So when it comes to things like Surfside, and being able to see that point of sale data and, conversions and rate, return on investment and all that stuff, those are the customers that we're really kind of, it's not the only customer we're paying attention to for sure, but it's a big one when it comes to, we have limited dollars. How do we kind of use those resources wisely?
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. I guess from our perspective, it's a pretty good question, I got to admit. And when we look at it from our point of sale system, we can't really capture too much information from the customer because then that obviously violates some of the CCC policy. So we got to be very careful about what we do there, and we make sure that if anything, we're erring much on the side of caution.
Mm-hmm.
So when we look at the customers that come through our e-commerce solution, we can, keep more of that information and look at that, as well as what we're doing through Alpine IQ. But I got to admit, where we are now, we're just starting to look at the individual customers or group those customers and figure out how to market to them as different segments as opposed to as a whole. So
Yep.
it's I would definitely say that's one of the next steps that we have in our business, as far as understanding who we're marketing to and what goes to who as to what not goes to who.
Yeah, that's a
So
big, I mean, that's a big project, building out these buyer personas. Steve, is that, I assume you're involved with that?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a little easier from the e-commerce side to kind of have data produced into a spreadsheet. To Mike's point, not all of it can we keep, but rather than just hearing word of mouth of what customers like, don't like, it's obviously already that much farther along in how we can use that information.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always that balancing act with everything, making sure we're not violating something, but using the information we have to the best of our ability to try and capitalize.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's a dance, to steal Will's term from earlier. Gentlemen, you've all mentioned, and really, some of the topic of this, oh, we got these out of order, excuse me. The topic of this session today was really focused around something you've both mentioned, and really the main reason why we've come together is to talk about the concept of commerce media, which is also known as retail media in non-cannabis circles. And what I pulled up here on screen for those folks that are viewing on the screen are just some live screenshots. And there's a complex explanation of what commerce media is. We're not going to go through that one today. The simple explanation of what commerce media is, or retail media, is brand ads on retail e-com menus. That's it. So Amazon really pioneered this. I was shocked to learn when we started going down this road a year ago that Amazon make about 2/3 of the profit across the entire business from just allowing the brands they sell on Amazon to pay more to be top of mind. And we're talking billions and billions of dollars. So, we've just at Surfside, we've brought that concept to cannabis, and hats off to you gentlemen, because you were all amongst the first in the industry to ever go down this road, to ever say, hey, that makes sense. We work really closely with Nimbus. Why wouldn't we let them pay a bit extra to secure those customers when they come to our site? We're going to sell more of their products. They're going to get more customers. So that's all we're showing here. There's a screenshot here of the web view. There's a screenshot here of what the mobile view looks like. And folks, that's all this really is. It's the ability to put targeted ads for branded products right there where the consumer is ready to make an e-com purchase. And as we know, particularly in new markets, but even I'm based here in California, most consumers don't really know what they're looking for. A lot of consumers, even in mass and certainly new markets, don't know Nimbus, right? And so how do you get them, as Will mentioned, to give your brand a try the first time? This is an amazing way to do it, because I'm a consumer. I've found the Vault's website. I don't know what I want. I might know I want pre-rolls versus flower versus an edible potentially, but there's so many brands available to me that if there's a really good looking ad sitting there, which these are beautiful ads, there's a high likelihood I'm going to click on that. And if I click on that, I'm going to go through to that page for the Nimbus products, and I might make a purchase. And as Will's touched on, and actually I won't steal your thunder, Will take us through your perspective on starting this program with us. You, again, one of the first cannabis brands in history to do this, which is super cool. I'm glad you're still part of this up to a year later. But take us through your experience getting up and running, and then talk through maybe how this is working, good, bad, or ugly.
Yeah, so this was kind of a no-brainer for us, because like Anthony has said, the biggest thing is to get to that point where somebody's actually there making a decision, so they're deciding what to purchase. And whether that's an in-store display where somebody, where we can go in and actually in the brick and mortar store, set something up, which is what we did at the very beginning of the business before we found a product like Surfside. And then now there's, on digital means, there's a way to actually, when somebody's placing an order, if they're doing it in their car or beforehand, there's, we want it to be in a place where, before they start scrolling and get into the massive list of the products that are available at every dispensary, you see a Nimbus ad. So that's like kind of front and center. And that way, because, our line, as long as it's a smokable product, which is what we offer, we want to make sure that somebody who's looking for a product like that, they have the option and they can, see that right there in the ad, that they have everything, all our products there, and they understand it. And it just kind of, it makes it easy. As Mike said, some people go into a dispensary, they're not necessarily trying to have a 15-minute conversation about terpene profiles and all these different things. What are the best brands for this? They're trying to kind of get in and out. And if you can kind of create an overall brand, just kind of idea with just some product offerings, I think that's a home run for us. I mean, if we can just get there and get right into the consumer's mind of like, okay, I'm trying to make a purchase. These look like some products I might purchase. Let's give it a try. That's super important for us. And since then, we've definitely found that it works. It's been huge for us. I mean, it's we see a significant part of our sales through online orders going through Surfside. So that just tells me it works, and that's worth our our small marketing budget and all that.
Absolutely. I love it's a comparison I guess we've started to make now more as we've heard it from the market of, it's the equivalent really, and you've just made the equivalent, the comparison there, Will, of the in-store merchandising, right? It's like you walk into a store, any store, a retailer like the Vault or any other retailer, and brands are paying for end caps and displays, and that's that. This is for the digital world. It's really the equivalent. I love that comparison. What about Mike and Steve from the Vault side? You're on the other side of this. You essentially become, in common advertising vernacular, a publisher, right? Where you are opening up your website to advertising. Obviously, you have full control over who advertises and where they advertise, right? It's your property. We're merely the piping really at Surfside. We're just making sure the right ads appear at the right time to the right people. But I'd love to hear about your experience as one of the first ever cannabis retailers to ever activate something like this, getting up and running, and how it's performing for you.
Yeah, I guess I'll say a couple of quick things. The one of the main things is with these ads, it's another opportunity for us to bring the products that we value, that it has done well. It brings it front and center, right? So when somebody hits this page to order something, they see those ads, and you can't get any better than that. So that's my perspective. I'm sure Steve has a lot to say about this as well.
Well, that's the sound bite we want, Mike. You can't get any better than that. That's the
Dave.
How do I follow that, right?
Yeah.
So, much like me and Mike do, whenever something's being pitched to us, we try and rip it apart from every angle to make sure it's going to work out for us. And it stood up to our test. The first thing we wanted to make sure was, okay, we're showing an example here, a Nimbus ad. How do you guys know we have Nimbus products? Well, with the integration, it's only going to show an ad when we have product in stock. So we wanted to make sure we weren't going to present an ad and then have an upset customer because nothing's there. So from that standpoint, okay, we got over a hurdle of how is this going to happen? The next standpoint was it kind of became a revenue stream on top of it. So since we're providing space for brands and wholesalers to advertise, it turns into an area where we're now, seeing returns ourselves in providing the ad space, never mind also the click through and then the conversions as well. So for us, again, to use a no-brainer, nothing better than this kind of thing. I know I'm harping on that. It's been pretty seamless for us. It's for the most part from our retailer side. It's somewhat set it and forget it. It's there. You guys populate the ads that's necessary. If there are any brands that we said, maybe we don't want to highlight them as much, but at the same time, they probably wouldn't be on our menu if we don't want them to be highlighted. But we still do have that control if we needed to have it. So yeah, from our standpoint, yeah, we've been some of the first to do it. But at the same time, we're a little nervous at the beginning, and all those fears went away pretty fast. So it's been great.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, again, you dipped your toe. I think I was stealing one of Mike's phrases from earlier in the week, but you dipped your toe really, really
Right.
early. And we very much appreciate all of you for coming along the ride. And almost probably 10, maybe 9, 10 months down the road now, it continues to expand. We've got lots of new states coming on and lots of new brands coming on, and very, very exciting for us. And very stoked, obviously, that you folks are getting good results. If we look at, we're going to take some questions, by the way. If anyone's got questions, there's a few that have come in a moment. We've just got one more topic, and then we'll do some questions, and then we'll wrap up here. But want to go back, actually back a slide, just a little bit of a look ahead, right? Just from your perspectives, what does the next year or two look like? Again, we could do maybe a session just on that, but changes to your business or changes to the industry. I know, Mike, you mentioned it's really hard to know what's coming up, but anything that is top of mind for you as you look down the road. Maybe we'll start with Mike, go to Will, and go to Steve.
Yeah, I guess, next 12 to 24 months, one of the things that I keep my eye on pretty closely is because, in our Webster store, we're right on the Connecticut line, right? So I want to see what other states are doing.
Mm-hmm.
And, luckily in Connecticut, they're a little bit slow to kind of get up to speed. So love that. Hopefully they continue that trend and act very slowly. And then the other thing, like we talked about earlier, is, is there any deregulation? Is there anything going on with the taxes, right? Like, these are all things that we want to understand is great. And, from a Vault perspective, we've done a few things recently, which we think is good. And that's, employee ownership,
Yes.
so we've gone down that path, and, we'll be promoting that a lot recently, or not recently, but in the near future. So next 12 to 24 months, I wish I had that crystal ball, but I don't. But the big thing is I want to see what our neighboring states are doing, and I want to see what the federal government does as far as a tax standpoint. Like, those are the two things that I don't know about that can have pretty drastic effects.
Yeah, 100%. Thank you. Will, what about you?
Yeah, so next 12 to 24 months, we would definitely love to license out to a new state. I'll leave that kind of under wraps of where that is at the moment. Another thing is maybe, this being our home state and where all our manufacturing and our kind of capabilities lie, consolidating and also releasing new product lines. So figuring out what products work best and what products, we maybe can, put on the back burner type of thing. And I think really the way we kind of figure that out is we just look at the data. We look at the data of the sales, and that lets us reallocate resources and figure out what products work, what products don't, what products to put more advertising dollars into, what lines to kind of double down on, and which sounds to me, it's kind of like, business as usual, but that's kind of just like the way that the industry for us goes. It's always about how can we keep things fresh, but also, what are the new avenues, and how can we create some additional revenue? Maybe a merchandise store is something that we want to have come online. So there's a lot of things, and it's definitely kind of it's a complex and dynamic kind of thing, and just kind of looking at the months ahead. I think a lot of pieces need to come together, but you can bet that you'll see new products from Nimbus, and you'll see some new ads, new artwork, all the fun stuff. So that's kind of what's up for us.
Busy young man, Will. It's exciting stuff. I'm looking forward to seeing the new products in the new state when you're ready to announce.
Yes, we're so excited.
Awesome, mate. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, I should probably have a better answer to this since Mike's on the other end of this, and I'm supposed to know what's happening over the next 12 to 24 months. But at the same time, you never know what's going to happen. So I'm happy to say we have great foundation at what we're already doing, just simply from the standpoint of, okay, a lot of what I focus on is marketing and advertising. So if something gets deregulated and now we have, more free will to advertise how we want, we've already been doing it already. We're not looking for solutions just like everyone else when regulation gets lifted.
Mhm.
So we're at a point where we already know what we're doing, how we're working. It just turns into now I can use the word sale. Now I can say percentages off, stuff like that. And it's a quick pivot for us to be, instantly more articulate in the marketplace for the customers to know what they're getting out of us. So I hope I tiptoed around that non-answer right there as best I could, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking right there.
No, I love it, mate.
Great.
Yeah, that's one of the funniest things about this industry. I'm a few years in now, and just the different state restrictions and rules and what you can show imagery wise and what verbiage you can use. And yeah, it's
Right.
never a dull moment. Gentlemen, thank you. We actually have a few questions here. We got a couple of minutes. So first one is actually from Nick Irby. Thanks, Nick. How is growth? I think this is one for me, actually, gents. Nick's asking how growth in retail media investments with gigantic CPGs like Kraft, Pepsi, P&G, how are they being showcased to cannabis brands to prove how successful this is? I'm going to answer that one because this is what we do every day. Nick, I'm going to say when we first did this, when we first went to market, it was very, very challenging. And again, these gentlemen are some of the first through one of our amazing team members here, Tim Wallace, who oversees the New England region. They just trusted us to give it a shot. And that was sort of what it was at the beginning. It was trusted customers of ours that gave us a shot, and it worked for the most part. We continue every day, Nick, to be preaching to the industry, educating the industry that this is available, that this is actually a really good ecosystem, in that the brands are jumping in like Will. They're the ones essentially funding this. They're buying the ads. The retailers, by the way, we haven't really mentioned this. The retailers get a revenue share out of this as well. So it is an ecosystem that really does support the industry. Obviously, Surfside benefits as well because we've built the technology to do all this. But hopefully that answers your question, Nick. We are using those examples every day, like the Amazon one I've used here today. You can go to Best Buy, Target, any retail website is doing this today. And again, we haven't reinvented anything net new here at Surfside. We've just brought the functionality to the cannabis industry. The second question, this is specific from Jason Foss. Thanks, Jason. To Steve and Mike, what percentage of your ad spend with Surfside gets absorbed by embedded ads on your website? Okay, so how much is going to on-site ads versus off-site ads, I guess is what they're saying, but you're not really buying on-site ads because Will's buying the on-site ads and you're buying off-site ads.
Or is he asking more so how are we what are we making from commerce media
Sorry.
versus what we're spending towards? Yeah, gotcha.
Thank you, Steve. Yes, that's
no,
it.
All good. All good.
Yeah, go ahead. Well interpreted.
So if we're looking at the commerce media, I would say that's what we take in for commerce media is about 20% of the monthly bill that we pay to Surfside.
Right.
Rough numbers.
I know, that is growing month over month though, which is good. So hopefully that'll be higher than 20%. Yeah.
One of the things that I do want to say, right, is I am not a marketing person at all. Obviously, that's Steve's business is marketing, but we have bi-weekly meetings with both Kate and Tim. So Tim Wallace and Kate, and I've learned so much from them, and I can honestly say that I think we've grown together. And obviously, I love dealing with Kate because she has a great personality, and she's very good about putting me in my place, which I appreciate. And the best thing about that is like, hey, everything is going well. We should be investing more money in doing this to see, like if it's a 4 or 5 times growth or whatever, we want to see that investment and we want to make sure that goes forward. And the more that we do that, the more the commerce media will kind of kick in as well. So I can honestly say that all of the people that we've dealt with at Surfside has been an absolute pleasure to work with, and only has us in mind as far as making sure that our business is growing and heading in the direction that it should be growing. So
I love that answer. And by the way, Jason, thanks for the follow-up. We've had other scenarios, Jason, which has been very interesting, where we've had customers start working with us just on commerce media as retailers. So all that's happening initially is that literally we're sending them checks. after a few months, when this is ticking over, it's growing each month. Some of those customers are now saying, okay, we're ready. This is our marketing fund now that you've created for us. We'll invest that back into programmatic ads for you. So there's different ways of skinning it, but ultimately, again, it feeds itself. To Mike's point, the more traffic you're driving to your e-commerce, the more you're able to monetize those ads, the more sales the brands are getting. Look, it doesn't work every single time, everywhere, of course, but it works like 95% of the time. And so just getting up, testing and learning and seeing how your ads will perform as a brand, or how your brand partner's ads will perform as a retailer, super, super easy to do. And you can get a sense within 2 or 3 months of whether this is going to be a program that is something that's a part of the future of your business.
And Anthony, just to quickly piggyback off of that, like I was saying earlier, we have Surfside as part of our marketing partnership. We presented it to a lot of wholesalers that were kind of on the fence with it, but we're able to say it works for us. So they're more confident to say, let's try it. And I'll be honest, how many we have that we do we say, let's start for 30 days, see how it works. After the 30 days, they're saying, I want another 30. Let's go some more. It happens more often than not with all the partnerships that we have. So it's, the other wholesalers see the strength in what's going on here. So it's, definitely works out well for both sides.
Love it. Will, last remarks to you, Will.
Oh yeah, I would say I'll even riff on top of that even some more. We initially got in on Surfside through a retailer, kind of like what Steve was talking about, where a retailer invited us in. We were able to see, okay, our sales did better that month, and they actually did better for the following month as well without running the Surfside ad. So that was kind of okay, maybe now it's time to have that call with Tim. So, and we did. So we have that bi-weekly call with Tim and Kate as well. And it's just, it's great. It's, we're able to really kind of, make our dollars, just kind of stretch them as long as we can, which as a manufacturer, that's kind of the name of the game. So
100%. I'm going to hear it from Tim and Kate today, you guys, by the way. That's enough patting them on the back. No, they're both amazing. Thank you very much. We've actually awesome. We've gone a little bit over time. We had a few other questions here that we won't get to today because we have gone over time, but we are going to send this out to everybody. This recording, the deck, we'll put the answers to the few questions. I apologize, folks, that we didn't get to in that. That'll come out by the end of the day. I want to thank Steve, Mike, and Will. Been awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining. Your insights, your experience, just absolute gold. And I hope that the audience, thank you for attending, have learned 1 or 2 things today from you folks. We'll finish up with contact details here. If anyone wants to get in contact with any of the speakers, there are the details there. And again, there'll be a note out from Surfside to everyone by the end of the day with all of this content and more. So gentlemen, thank you again. Thanks folks for attending, and enjoy the rest of your weeks. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll see you.